The NSU brand became famous mainly due to the production of motorcycles. But few people know that NSU is the first carmaker to offer a production model with a Wankel engine. You are watching the review of the vanished car brand NSU. You are watching Old Cars Reviews. The roots of the German carmaker NSU go back to 1873, when Heinrich Stoll and Christian Schmidt founded a sewing machine factory in Reidlingen. But their paths parted ways in 1876. Stoll used his know-how to set up his own company, Strickmaschinenfabrik Heinrich Stoll, in Reutlingen. At that time, the company had 9 employees. Schmidt died in 1884 at the age of 39. However, in the last will, he approved the planned transformation of the company into a joint stock company Neckarsulmer Strickmaschinenfabrik. The first motor vehicle. In 1886 they started the production of bicycles and their components for other producers. By 1892, bicycles had completely pushed sewing machines out of the production program. Another milestone of the company was the introduction of the first NSU motorcycle in 1901. It was followed by the first car in 1905. The first motorcycle was called the Neckarsulmer Motorrad. It provided an output of approximately 1.25 horsepower and allowed to drive at a speed of almost 40 km per hour. It was equipped with a single-cylinder 4-stroke Zettel engine with a displacement of 211 cc. Later in Neckarsulm they developed their own engines and successfully equipped motorcycles on the racetracks. It has helped not only to the development of technology but also to marketing. Since 1904, motorcycles have been marked NSU, also with dots and gaps, on the tank. That changed in 1913. When the company changed its name to Neckarsulmer Fahrzeugwerk and began using the simplified NSU brand, derived from the city name Neckarsulm, to describe its products. The first car was actually a tricycle called Sulmobile with a single-cylinder 4-stroke with a volume of 451 cc. Power of 3.5 horsepower was transmitted by the chain to the front steered wheel. However, Sulmobile did not succeed, so in 1906 NSU began producing normal, 4-wheeled cars with 4-cylinder engines. By the outbreak of World War I, NSU had become the largest exporter of motorcycles in Germany. During the war, the development of passenger cars slowed down as the factory supplied the army with motorcycles and trucks. The NSU, fueled by the post-war demand for vehicles, built a car factory in 1925 in the neighboring town of Heilbronn. A year later, NSU took over the body company Karosseriewerk Scheibera from Berlin, which was facing bankruptcy. These large investments so badly bothered the company that it eventually had to get rid of the Berlin body shop and even its new plant in Heilbronn. Fiat joined the company, and in 1932 NSU abandoned the production of automobiles and left a factory called NSU Automobile AG Heilbronn exclusively to Fiat. They produced licensed Italian cars there under the NSU Fiat brand. Surprisingly, the NSU built a car again in 1933, even as many as 3. These were prototypes for a certain Austrian engineer. The vehicle was called the Type 32 and had an air-cooled engine at the rear. And the engineer's name was Ferdinand Porsche. These were prototypes of a car known all over the world under the name Beetle, and which Adolf Hitler also liked so much that he wanted to put the German Empire on its wheels. NSU again focused only on the production of bicycles and motorcycles. During World War II, it developed and manufactured the famous Kettenrad for the German Army, a half-motorcycle, a half-track vehicle with an Opel Olympia engine. After the war, Kettenrad's production continued and he was an excellent helper for farmers. Only a few weeks before the end of the war, a factory was hit by a bunch of Allied bombs. After the peace was established, the Allies served as a service center with a number of usable spare parts. NSU even built 98 quick motorcycles from the parts found. The factory at Neckarsulm was in danger of bankruptcy until Walter Egan Nietzsche reached the helm. He was responsible for the return of the brand to the racetracks in an effort to raise the profile of NSU and improve the brand's image in the eyes of the public. Sales began to rise, but Nietzsche died suddenly in 1951. However, the trend continued, and in the mid-50s, NSU became the largest manufacturer of two-wheeled vehicles in the world. Cars push motorcycles off the roads. However, the NSU estimated that with rising living standards, demand for bicycles and motorcycles will decline. People will demand more for their money than just getting from place A to place B. Therefore, the development of a four-wheeled vehicle, a car, has started again. The result was introduced in 1957 under the name NSU Prince. But at that time, NSU-branded cars were already being manufactured at Fiat's Heilbronn branch. NSU and Fiat entered into a dispute over the brand, and the result was that Fiat had to stop using NSU brand on its licensed cars. NSU Prince was a mini-car for 4 passengers with a motorcycle engine located at the rear. It was an air-cooled inline twin-cylinder with a volume of 583 cc. It was created by combining 2 single-cylinder engines from the NSU Max motorcycle and gave an output of 20 horsepower. Engine cooperated with the rear wheels via a 4-speed crash transmission. It later got in sync. Over time, the engine power was increased to 30 horsepower. The Polton Prince 30 raced with it at speeds of up to 120 km per hour with a deafening roar. The coupe derived from the NSU Prince was named Sport Prince in 1958. Its graceful shapes were designed by the Italian designer Franco Scaglione, who designed Alfa Romeo BAT, Lamborghini 350 GTV and Intermeccanica, then still in the service of Nuccio Bertoni. Sport Prince was powered by the engine known from Prince tuned to 30 horsepower. He comfortably and stylishly carried 2 adults and 2 very modest small passengers or larger shopping bags on the upholstered backboard. It was made at Bertoni's for the first 7 years, until the last 3 years he could wear the "Made in Germany" label. In 1961, the Prince received a larger and more modern body, but the engine remained the same as in the Prince 30. We know it as Prince IV. Its design is reminiscent of the scaled-down Chevrolet Corvair from 1960 or direct competitor Hillman Imp from 1963. All 3 similar models even have the same engine placement concept. Their other half-brother appeared in 1967 in the Soviet Union, ZAZ 966, better known as Zaporizhzhak. Replaced by the obsolete ZAZ 965 plagiarism of the Fiat 600. One version of the story says that Prince IV served as inspiration, another says that Corvair himself was the inspiration. Either way, the engine was air-cooled and also located at the rear. The Zaporozhye differed from the Prince mainly in the chassis, adapted to bad Soviet roads. Over time, Prince 4 received a 4-cylinder engine, Prince 1000. The potential of a light body on an agile chassis was only realized by implanting an engine of the larger Type 110 with a volume of 1086 cc. The power of 55 horsepower was enough to wave really hard with the 600 kg Prince 1000 TT. In 1967, the NSU stopped naming Prince. The next stage of development was therefore called NSU 1200 TT. It got a larger engine with an output of 65 horsepower and reached a speed of 155 km per hour. NSU 1000 TTS was at the top of the offer. The 1-liter engine provided power of up to 70 horsepower. The Agile kart became a sought-after racing tool and reigned in the class up to 1000 cc on circuits and slaloms. Its Agile engine was also used by the most powerful motorcycle of that time, the Munch TTS. The current owner of the NSU brand, Audi, paid tribute to the success of NSU's racing specials when it named its new coupe TT in 1998. For many years, NSU worked with Felix Wankel to develop the first production car powered by a rotary piston engine. NSU Wankel Spider was introduced in 1964. It looked like a Sport Prince with a removable roof. In addition, it had vents in the front, as the engine was cooled by water and the cooler with the tank were located at the front. Thanks to Wankel's engine, it provided much more power than the Sport Prince. From a volume of 497 cc gave 50 horsepower, and that was enough for it to reach a maximum speed of 155 km per hour. But he was bothered by childhood diseases of the new concept, such as leakage, dubious reliability and high consumption. However, it will remain in history as the first production car with a Wankel engine. Throughout this period, until the mid-1960s, the company produced motorcycles and even bicycles in addition to cars. The last motorcycle from NSU production was the Quick 50 model, and at the end of production, the bikes were no longer real NSUs. These were only licensed Heinemann bicycles. After experience with the rotary engine, NSU launched the development of another model. In 1967, a car that was decades ahead of the world. The NSU R080. Immediately after its launch, it won the title of Car of the Year. But over time, its rather fundamental weaknesses have emerged. They mainly concerned the power unit, which was a two-rotor Wankel, with a volume of 2 × 497 cc located in the front, driving the front axle. It provided a great 115 horsepower compared to the volume and a maximum speed of 180 km per hour. But only if it worked. R080 has made infamous history because of quality control issues. The whole thing was crowned by a leaky and unusually thirsty engine. Consumption was 16 liters per 100 kilometers. While the carmaker detected and eliminated these childhood diseases, the reputation of the big sedan was irreparably damaged. Much of the first pieces produced had to be replaced after 50,000 kilometers. The owner's negative experiences spread at lightning speed and ensured R080 negative publicity. In just 10 years, just over 37,000 pieces have been produced. The beginning of the end. What was supposed to bring the NSU brand to the elite eventually put it on its back. None of this would have happened if NSU had not rushed to put the twin-engine into series production. As time has shown, many skilled experts have been able to eliminate bugs by simple adjustments. But the NSU was slowly but surely becoming under the ownership of the Volkswagen Group. Together with the NSU brand, the group also inherited a prototype of the new K70 model, which ran between Prince and R080. It had a front-mounted water-cooled engine with a capacity of 1,600 cc. Only 23 pre-production pieces wore the NSU label, and already at the Frankfurt Motor Show in 1969, the K70 was renamed Volkswagen. It was manufactured under this name until 1975. The last car sold with the NSU emblem was the R080 in April 1977. In 1969, the NSU merged with the Auto Union brand. The new company was called Audi NSU Auto Union, but in 1985 the name was simplified to Audi. During the production of the R080, the Neckarsulm plant began production of the Audi 100 and 200, as well as the Porsche 924. Later the 944. The Audi A4, A5 Cabrio, A6, Allroad Quattro, R8 and A8 are currently produced at the Neckarsulm.